The 6th of August 2024. This is one of those videos in my series of The Buddha Must Think. And in this one I'm going to talk about obesity. Obesity is basically a pandemic for the Western world. There are portions in Africa where they've got a problem as well. Here in South Africa we see obesity under the black people. It's a lot. And it is really dangerous. And it's costly to society because the medical care that is connected to obesity is huge. I want you to take a look at this image. Now, there's a lot of value in that photograph. Well, obviously you're going to see her face. And she looks extremely happy and excited about that plate of food. But I want you to take note of the following. Look at her hands and compare the size of her hands to the size of that portion on the plate. Why is that important? Because it is a known fact that if you put your fists together like this, the two fists together, that's roughly the volume of your stomach. Now, for me, I have trained myself and conditioned myself over many years. When I look at a plate of food, I visualize it in comparison with my two fists and judge if that volume is too much or not. Now, this little girl in the image, she is excited about that plate of food and she will be able to complete that meal. In other words, clean her plate. Now, how many times have you heard the following said to a child? Just eat what you want and leave the rest. It may sound nice to say it to that child, but what you are actually doing is you are robbing that child of that sense of achievement that she will get when she finishes her plate. And if you look and you're observant, you will see many times small kids, if they've eaten all their food off the plate, how proudly they display the empty plate, because it's an achievement for them to clean their plate. Now, you as a parent has got a massive responsibility, massive, to be careful of the volume. Look at this image again, look at her hands, look at the volume on the plate, and you'll see on the side there's a bucket with some salad in, things that she likes. But she's under no pressure to empty that. She can eat out of that as much as she wants. But the fact is, the main meal is within her capacity to finish that meal. Now, what you must understand is that is programming that I'm doing here. This is my granddaughter. That is part of programming. If you program them with portion control like this, when they are small, the chances that they will get obese when they're big is very slim. I mean, it is programmed into them to get that volume idea in their heads and measure everything against that. My wife was a terror with my two sons on their diet, and they never were overweight, never right through their life until matric. After matric, they're on their own, they do what they like. But the fact of the matter is, she kept them slim and trim by making sure they eat healthy, but controlling their portions. And snacks was strictly controlled. And you have to take note of that. Because if you teach that child that discipline, they will not have an obesity problem when they're big. And if they should get obese, they will know exactly why they're obese. So we have to focus on these small things. And in what I've spoken now about how programming that child about the food, Triple X is very well aware of how easily it is to program children. That is why they are like fucking satanic demons on our school systems, because they are training those children to accept shit like this alphabet cuck and all of that. They train them young. And they started with it a long time ago. And you can see the culmination of that fuck up now at the Olympics. Men hitting women and win a medal for it. And the children has grown up already, being exposed that it is natural to be dick confused. So, but forget that shit. Get back to the food. I have a strict rule in my house when I cook, and I cook most of the time, and there's only 3 things on the plate. And if you look at these meals, look at this one for instance. That is a very rich stew, but under that stew is coarsely chopped raw cabbage. You look at this one, again, you can see the meat there, but you see there's a lot of salad and stuff under it. But look at that bowl. That bowl, I can tell you now, I bought those bowls specifically. That bowl basically accommodates my 2 fists. And you see on the side there's a slice of bread. Why a slice of bread? Because one of the big things about eating a meal is after the meal you need to feel satisfied. So you can go on a diet and you strictly portion control of that, but if you leave that table unsatisfied, you are going to snack. And that is a killer, all those snacking in between. That is why I take a slice of bread with it. Because if you look at the bulk of that is lightweight fruit and lettuce and radishes and things like that with a little bit of meat stew. But the volume, watch the volume. If you look at this plate, there is some, in that little bowl there, is scrambled egg that I make the way my dad used to make it. You need to be able to still see the white and the yellow separated, and it's not finely scrambled, it's roughly scrambled. And then there's some meat bits, tomato, and there's 3 slices of sour bread with it. Now, I eat 1 meal a day. Now, that was my meal. You look at this one, here you can see I am beyond that place where when I do a braai and everyone gets a piece of steak, and so I don't do it. I buy big pieces, big steaks, thick, braai it, and then I slice it like this. And everyone takes a slice. Now, 7, 8 slices is enough for a big man. Here you can see the steak sliced up. For me, my wife, and there is a second meal that we'll make out of the rest that we don't eat. If you look at this plate, this was chicken. And if you look at the top left, what I do is I'll take 1 potato and I mash it, and then I add milk with it to make it soft. And I get it to bubble in the pot, and then I put green beans that I've chopped in, not more than 5 minutes. So when you eat it, that beans are still crunchy. It's all about taste and texture. And it is important that we focus on the volume, in other words, the portion size. And you meet the portion size against those 2 fists. In 2016, October 2016, my ideal weight, according to all the clever guys, is 92 kilograms, taking in consideration my bone structure and all of that. In October 2016, I hit the scale at 118 kilograms. I stood here in my office. You see the blinds behind me. I was looking through that window onto my koi ponds. I've got some big, huge koi ponds here in the garden. And it was early morning, and I was staring at the fish, and I realized if I don't make a plan, I'm not going to see Christmas. And I embarked on a health mission. I started exercising in the gym 3 times a week, and I rethought the whole eating operation in my house. I switched to this 1 meal a day thing and all of that. And by February 2019, 2.5 years later, I was 92 kilograms. And here as I'm sitting here with you talking today, although since the pandemic I stopped going to the gym and so forth, I weigh 94 kilos. I picked up 2 kilograms of weight. And I know why I picked it up, because I'm inactive and I spend 18 hours a day basically behind the screen. So, the fact of the matter is, you need to really take a long, hard look at your body and be honest with yourself and make a decision whether you're obese or not. And don't bluff yourself with that shit, I'm 1 kilo over, or I just got a little bit of a roll here. Don't. You need to be close to your ideal weight. Take a man and he's 25 kilograms overweight. Take 2 backpacks, put 3 4-liter containers, milk containers, with water in it, in a backpack, and in both backpacks, so that you can load it. So you've got a weight there, or combined weight of 24 kilograms. And then you give it to that guy that is only, he tells you he's 25 kilos over his ideal weight. And put the one backpack on the front of his body and the other one on the back. And he must carry that for the whole day. If it's your husband, let him do that on a Saturday. And by Saturday evening, you take the 2 backpacks off and let him walk around the house without the backpack, so that he himself can understand what the fuck he's doing to his body. Because what is the first thing to suffer when you go overweight? Your skeleton, your joints. They're taking enormous hammering because they're not designed for that. So the wear and tear on it is terrible. I don't even talk about your heart. You should go to a butcher and let him put 2 kilograms of fat for you on a scale. Just 2 kilos. 1 kilo. Let him put 1 kilo of fat on the scale. And then when you look at that fat, you must try and imagine the following, because you must understand that fat is filled with blood vessels. Otherwise it will rot in your body. And then imagine the extra work your heart has to do to maintain that fat. Just to maintain the fat. Your heart is working like hell. You must ask yourself if that is fair. And let's get religious about this. The Bible tells you your body is the temple of God. Now, go and stand in front of a long mirror and look at yourself critically and ask yourself, is this temple honoring God or not? Because you must understand, the Bible says it. Your body is the temple of God. Inspect that temple and see if you're happy with that thing. And then ask yourself whether God would be happy with that thing. He may not tell you he's unhappy with it, but you must try and imagine what he thinks when he looks at you. That's the thing. But what has XXX done? They have programmed us very subtly to accept obese people as normal. That's what they do to us. Look at that thing, I'm going to call it the thing, that was sitting on the opening ceremony of the Olympics, posing as Jesus. Look at that. It is a disgrace. But if you talk about it, they come with all this crap of fat shaming and I don't know what the fuck, man. The reality is, these obese people is dangerous to everybody because they're costing a hell of a lot of money to maintain. And our taxes must do that, must cover that. Their health care is extremely expensive. And all of it, we've been programmed to accept it. Just as we've been programmed to accept the alphabet shit and all of that. And that is why it was easy for XXX to infect our society with sick minds. Minds that are so sick. If you are in a place where you accept it as acceptable for a man to get into a boxing ring with a woman, you're fucking sick. Everything in a normal person tells you that is wrong. But society accepts it. So, but let me stick to the fact. The reality is this. Obesity is killing the people. And I've said it many times. XXX has got one main mission, and that is to kill a hell of a lot of us. And they're busy doing it. But what pisses me off is society in general is merely running along. Get back to your children. Look at what you feed your children. Look at the volume that you present them with. Do not overload their plates and rob them of that satisfaction of completing the meal. Don't do that. And for you, that is now going to embark most probably on a mission to lose weight. I'm telling you, I lost all that weight, and I've showed you examples of how I fed myself. I definitely did not starve myself. But I made very sure that I got enough protein every day. The bulk of my meal is usually protein. My wife, she says many times, yeah, but you're happy with bread and meat. And true, I'm happy with bread and meat. But you must understand, I bake my own bread, and it's sourdough bread, so it's healthier than that white fluffs that you buy. But the fact of the matter is, we need to start concentrating on our immediate environment and make changes to all those things that we can make changes to. And the most important thing that you can install in your children is discipline. The discipline to sit at that table and finish that meal. Discipline. Discipline. Whenever you get the opportunities to install discipline in them, the discipline of keeping their own room tidy, the discipline of cleaning the bathroom after they finished it, that discipline, the discipline to start helping with chores in the house, taking the garbage out or sweeping or things like that. That discipline, because discipline is what's going to dictate whether those children will be successful adults. Discipline. And for those that has gone to the army, you can understand it. And remember back in the first 6 weeks, yeah, they put us through hell, but the subliminal message, and sometimes brutally in your face message, discipline, 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 discipline. And that is one of the problems that we see in the schools currently, lack of discipline. And because they don't have the discipline in the schools, there's going to be undisciplined adults that. And they will make no success of anything in their lives will ever be a success because they don't have discipline. And I am worried about the youth, but I'm also inspired when I see people. I know some young people with kids, and I see how they train their kids, and train them, how they train the kids and control the kids, and I know they are building responsible adults there with that discipline. And for you, if you're obese, you have to take a long, hard look at it and make a fucking plan. Because obesity is like a big billboard shouting out, I am a person that has got no discipline and I'm not in control of myself. That is what you transmit when you're obese. You've got zero discipline, you've got zero self-control. That is what you are sending out. But then I look on the TV and there's an advert of a woman. I mean, fuck. She's as fat as an elephant. And she sits there and she brags with how easy it is for her now to get out of bed in the morning after drinking that fucking concoction that they're advertising. And I look at it and I thought to myself, to get you out of bed, you need a crane, man. But she sits there and smilingly telling you how wonderful her life is now since she started drinking that shit that they're advertising. How is that acceptable to us? But to Triple X, it's great fun because they show you can be fat and happy and healthy. That's what they claim. But only healthy if you drink all the shit that they tell you must drink. Because that shit is keeping them rich. And that is what our life is today. Things that is unacceptable has become the norm. But discipline is nowhere to be found. So my closing message is, sit for a while under a tree or somewhere quiet and think, how disciplined are you really? You may think, yeah, you're disciplined because you go to work every day and so forth, but you're 20 kilograms overweight. You're not a disciplined person. If you're overweight, you're not a disciplined person. Done. Easy as that. And you're going to be angry. You're welcome to write your stories here in the comments, but just don't swear at me. The fact of the matter is, we need to start and train them when they're small. And I'm talking to the parents now. And I'm going to show you this image again. Look at that happy face. And she is relaxed and looking forward to the meal because in her mind, she knows she can finish that plate. And that achievement of finishing is, I cannot express to you how valuable it is for children to experience that. Yeah, adults must also experience a sense of finishing something successfully. It is very important. That is why I have a tendency not to help people too much. I will help them up to a point, but then they must take those final steps to experience that sense of achievement. Look again at yourself in the mirror. See if you're obese. If you are obese, you've got a problem. And only you can make a difference. Only you can manage that problem. But you have to look at it and identify it as a problem and then put things in place. And I've told you right in the beginning, don't get sold on all this cuck of losing so many kilos in so many days and all of that shit, that quick weight loss and all that crap. Those things are plastic. It does not last. I shed my excess weight over a period of 2 years and 3 months. And here I am, 5 years later, still in shape. Don't get bullshit by all these diets and things. The most important thing, the vitally important thing about diet is portion control. That is the most important thing. Portion control. When I embarked on my weight loss mission, I went and I bought plates and bowls that were small and the right portion size. That's it. And even up to today, my lunch that I take, and I told you I'm a 1 meal a day guy, but lately I'm eating small portions through the day. This saucer contained my lunch, and it was a handful of biltong and 1 rusk. That was my lunch. Other days, I will eat some biltong and a boiled egg for lunch. That's it. In the morning when I get up, I make meatballs. And the weight of the meatballs are 60 grams. And I will eat 2 of those meatballs with my morning coffee. That's my breakfast. And at dinner time, when my wife eats her dinner, I will eat food that I can tell you now that will fit on a saucer. That's it. Because I don't need more than that, because I don't expend more energy. I must eat as much as the energy that I expend. But it takes a lot of discipline to do that. So don't bluff yourself and get caught into a trap and you pay thousands of rands for losing so many kilos and so many hours and all of that cuck. Start by portion control and then do some exercise. Walking, just walking. Walk for 20 minutes a day and it makes a difference. And work that overweight fat off over a period of time so that you can get to your ideal weight and maintain it. Go and look at these people that goes on these marvelous, miraculous diets and they lose 20 kilos in a month and cock like that. And it takes them just a month to pick that 20 kilos up again. You know people like that. You know them. The big task if you are overweight is to get rid of that weight and not pick it up again. And you will not achieve that if you go on some magic whirly-burly program. You have to train your body to eat less and then shed that fat. That is important. But I've preached a lot. Fact of the matter is, don't forget the importance of installing discipline in your children, and the discipline starts at mealtime. That is so important because we are being trapped by unhealthy fast food that is readily available on demand. And some people, unfortunately, have an uncontrollable demand. And then at one morning they stand in front of the mirror and it is a sight for sore eyes. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.